It was supposed to be a normal morning at Luna's bakery. Warm ovens hummed, sugar drifted through the air, and customers chatted lazily over coffee. Then the door opened softly, hesitantly. A young mother stepped inside, holding the hand of a small girl whose dress was too thin for the cold morning. Lily clung to her, wide-eyed, taking in the rows of colorful cakes behind the glass. Her shoes were worn, her ribbon fraying. They stopped in front of the display. "Mommy, can I pick one?" Lily whispered. Anna forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She leaned toward the cashier and whispered, voice trembling. "Do you have an expired cake? Something you were going to throw out?" "It's her birthday." The cashier stiffened. Customers turned away uncomfortably. Lily lowered her head in embarrassment. But not everyone ignored them. From across the bakery, leaning against the counter in a tailored black suit, tattooed hands wrapped around a tiny espresso cup, Carlos Hernandez looked up. The man the neighborhood feared. The man criminals whispered about. He heard everything. Every whispered word. Every tremble. Every heartbreak. "No, ma'am," the cashier said coldly. "We don't sell trash." Anna blinked, trying not to cry. Lily's shoulders slumped. Carlos slowly stood. His chair scraped the floor. The entire bakery froze. He walked toward them, silent, towering, his shadow falling across the display case. "Excuse me," he said, voice low and steady. Anna turned, terrified. She recognized him instantly, everyone did. But instead of anger, something gentler flickered in his eyes. He knelt beside Lily. "What kind of cake do you want, Princessa?" Lily hesitated. "The pink one, but it's okay if I can't." Carlos didn't even look at the price tag. He lifted his gaze to the cashier. "Bring me that cake. The whole thing. And pack 2 bags of fresh food." The staff scrambled. No one dared argue. What Carlos did next changed all 3 of their lives forever. But before we go any further, make sure to like this video. Subscribe and comment where you're watching from so you never miss stories like this. The bakery buzzed with frantic movement as pastries, sandwiches, and soup were boxed up. Carlos never broke eye contact with the mother and daughter. "When's the last time you had a real meal?" he asked quietly. Anna swallowed. "Yesterday morning. The shelter served breakfast." A shadow crossed Carlos's features, a memory of hunger, of childhood scars he never spoke about. He placed several crisp bills on the counter. "Keep the change." Then he pulled out his phone and spoke in a low command. "Bring the car around. And prepare the guest suite. We're leaving soon." Anna froze. "What?" We just wanted a small cake." But Lily's eyes were locked only on the cake, her cake, with her name written across it in soft pink frosting. And in that moment, without meaning to, they stepped into a world that would change their lives forever. Anna's hands trembled as she accepted the bags from the cashier. The weight of them, real food, warm bread, a birthday cake, felt foreign after so many months of scraping by. 6 months ago, she'd had a life. An apartment with sunlight streaming through the kitchen window. A job at the hospital as a billing coordinator. Lily's laughter echoing down carpeted hallways. Then the layoffs came. Corporate restructuring, they called it. 3 weeks later, Lily spiked a fever that wouldn't break. The emergency room. The overnight stay. The bills that insurance refused to cover in full. Anna tried. God, she tried. She worked 2 part-time jobs, piecing together shifts wherever she could find them. But the rent came due faster than her paychecks. The eviction notice arrived on pale yellow paper, clinical and final. The shelters were full most nights. So they slept in her car, a rusted Honda with a broken heater, parked behind grocery stores or church parking lots, hoping no one would knock on the window at 2 a.m. Lily never complained. Not when dinner was crackers from a gas station. Not when they washed their faces in public restrooms. Not even when other kids stared at her worn-out shoes. She just held her mother's hand tighter and asked if tomorrow would be better. Carlos watched them from across the bakery. The way Anna clutched those bags like they might disappear. The way Lily pressed closer to her mother's side, protective despite being so small. He knew that look. He'd worn it himself once, hungry, desperate, invisible to a world that pretended not to see. His mother had stood in lines like this. Had whispered requests just like Anna's. Had died still hoping for better days. "My car's outside," Carlos said, his voice cutting through Anna's thoughts. "Let me give you a ride home." Anna's breath caught. She'd heard the stories. Everyone had. Carlos Hernandez didn't give rides. He gave orders. He controlled half the city's underground, commanded loyalty through fear and respect in equal measure. That's very kind, but we can manage," Anna said quickly, backing toward the door. "Mommy, my feet hurt," Lily whispered, tugging at her sleeve. They'd walked 40 minutes to get here. The bus fare would have cost $3. $3 she couldn't spare. Carlos didn't push. He simply gestured toward the door, holding it open. "It's cold. She's tired. And those bags are heavy." Something in his tone wasn't a threat. It was understanding. Anna hesitated, looking down at Lily's upturned face, at the hope flickering there. "Just a ride," Carlos added softly. "Nothing more." Outside, a black sedan idled at the curb, sleek and spotless. A driver stepped out, opening the back door without a word. Lily's eyes widened at the leather seats, the space, the warmth pouring from the vents. Anna climbed in carefully, settling Lily beside her, the bags balanced on her lap. Carlos sat across from them, watching. "Where to?" he asked. Anna's mouth opened, then closed. Her throat tightened. "Anna?" Carlos leaned forward slightly. "Your address." She couldn't look at him. Couldn't bear to see pity, or worse, disgust, in those dark eyes. "We're staying with a friend," she whispered. "What's the address?" Silence. Lily shifted, gripping the edge of the cake box. Carlos's gaze sharpened. He looked at Anna's threadbare coat. At Lily's too small dress. At the bags they carried like treasures. At the way Anna wouldn't meet his eyes. Understanding settled over him like a heavy stone. "You don't have one," he said quietly. "Not a question. A fact." Anna's shoulders sagged. A single tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. "We've been managing," she said, voice breaking. "We have the car. We're fine. We just needed." "You're sleeping in your car?" Anna nodded, defeated. Lily looked up at her mother, confused, scared by the emotion in her voice. Carlos sat back, jaw tight. He'd seen poverty. He'd seen desperation. But watching this mother, this fierce, proud woman, try to protect her daughter from a world that had abandoned them both. It cut deeper than he expected. He pulled out his phone. "Change of plans," he said into it, his tone leaving no room for argument. "We're going to the estate." Anna's head snapped up. "No. No, we can't." "You can," Carlos said, his voice firm but not unkind. "And you will." "Why?" Anna whispered, searching his face. "Why would you help us? You don't even know us." Carlos looked at Lily, at her wide eyes and fraying ribbon. At the innocence that hadn't yet been crushed by circumstance. "Because someone should have helped my mother," he said quietly. "And no one did." The car pulled away from the curb, carrying them toward a future none of them could have imagined. The apartment building wasn't what Anna expected. No mansion. No fortress guarded by armed men. Just a modest brick complex on a quiet street, clean and well-maintained, with flower boxes in the windows and a children's playground visible in the courtyard. Carlos led them through the lobby, nodding to the doorman, who straightened immediately, and into an elevator that hummed softly as it climbed to the third floor. Lily pressed her nose against the mirrored wall, watching their reflections multiply. "Here," Carlos said, stopping at unit 304. He produced a key, turned the lock, and pushed open the door. Anna stepped inside, and froze. Sunlight poured through wide windows. The walls were painted a soft cream. Hardwood floors gleamed. The kitchen had modern appliances, a small dining table already set with chairs. A couch sat in the living room, draped with a knitted throw blanket. And down the hallway, 2 bedroom doors stood open. "Mommy!" Lily gasped, breaking free and running toward them. She disappeared into the first room, a child's bedroom with pale yellow walls, a twin bed covered in a floral quilt, and a bookshelf waiting to be filled. Anna's hand flew to her mouth. We can't. "It's been empty for months," Carlos said quietly, leaning against the doorframe. "No one's using it." "Why?" Anna whispered, turning to face him. "Why would you have a place like this just waiting?" Carlos's jaw tightened. He walked to the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the street below. "My mother died 8 months ago," he said finally. "Cancer. By the time we caught it, it was too late." Anna's breath caught. "I bought this building years ago. Fixed it up. Told her I'd give her a place here, somewhere safe, somewhere warm. Somewhere she wouldn't have to worry anymore." His voice cracked just slightly. "She never made it." Anna's eyes burned with unshed tears. "I kept this unit ready anyway," Carlos continued. "Told myself someone would need it someday. Someone who deserved better than the streets." He turned back to her. "That's you." "We can't accept this," Anna said, even as her voice shook with longing. We can't pay rent. We have nothing." "You stay until you get back on your feet," Carlos said firmly. "That's the deal. No rent. No strings." "There's always strings," Anna whispered. Carlos studied her, this woman who'd lost everything but still stood tall, still protected her daughter, still refused charity out of pride. "I've seen you before," he said softly. Anna blinked. "What?" "3 weeks ago. Parked behind the grocery store on 5th. You were reading to Lily in the back seat by flashlight." Anna's face paled. 2 months before that. Outside St. Mary's shelter. The night they turned you away because they were full. You were watching us?" Her voice rose, defensive. "No," Carlos said. "I was seeing you. There's a difference." He stepped closer, his expression open in a way that surprised them both. "I drive through this city every day. I see people. Most of them I pass by. But you didn't beg. Didn't give up. You kept going. Kept fighting for her." He glanced toward the bedroom where Lily was spinning in circles, arms outstretched, laughing for the first time all day. "My mother did the same for me," Carlos said quietly. "Worked 3 jobs. Slept 4 hours a night. Never let me see how scared she was." His eyes met Anna's. She died still struggling. Still hoping someone would help. And no one ever did. Anna's tears finally spilled over. "Why us?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why are you doing this?" Carlos looked at her, really looked at her. At the exhaustion carved into her features. At the strength that refused to break. At the love that radiated from her every time she looked at her daughter. "You remind me of someone I lost," he said simply. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken pain. "I don't know how to repay this," Anna whispered. "Then don't," Carlos said. "Just let her be a kid again. Let yourself breathe." Lily appeared in the doorway, eyes shining. "Mommy, can we stay? Please? There's a Real bed and everything." Anna looked at her daughter, at the hope blazing in her small face. At the chance, maybe the only chance, they'd get to rebuild. She looked back at Carlos, searching for deception, for danger, for anything that would justify walking away. But all she saw was a man carrying his own ghosts. A man offering salvation because someone should have offered it to him. "Okay," Anna breathed. "We'll stay." Lily shrieked with joy, running to hug her mother's legs. And Carlos allowed himself the smallest smile, a crack in the armor he'd worn for so long. "I'll have groceries delivered tomorrow," he said. heading for the door. And clothes for Lily. Anything else you need, call me. He handed Anna a business card with a single phone number. Thank you, Anna said, the words inadequate for what he'd given them. Carlos paused in the doorway. Don't thank me yet, he said quietly. The world I live in, it's complicated, dangerous. People will ask questions if they see me helping you. Then why risk it? Anna asked. Carlos looked back at Lily, now dancing through the apartment, finally free. Because some things, he said, are worth the risk. The door closed softly behind him. And for the first time in months, Anna allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow would be better. The man at Luna's bakery had ordered a coffee he never drank. He'd stood by the window, pretending to scroll through his phone, angling it just right to capture every moment. The frightened mother. The small girl. Carlos Hernandez kneeling beside them. The moment Carlos's mask slipped, revealing something human beneath the legend. Click. 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 Now, across the city in a penthouse office that reeked of expensive cigars and cheaper cologne, Ricardo Mendez studied those photos with growing interest. When were these taken? He asked, not looking up. This morning, boss, his lieutenant answered. Luna's bakery on Westwood. Ricardo zoomed in on Anna's face. Then Lily's. Then Carlos's expression, gentle, protective, unguarded. Who are they? Nobody. Homeless. The woman asked for expired cake. Carlos bought them food, drove them somewhere in his personal car. Ricardo leaned back in his leather chair, a slow smile spreading across his scarred face. For 3 years, he'd been trying to find a crack in Carlos Hernandez's armor. The man was untouchable. Disciplined. Cold. He didn't gamble, didn't chase women, didn't make mistakes. Until now. Find out where he took them, Ricardo ordered. I want names. Addresses. Everything. You think she's his girl? I think, Ricardo said, tapping the photo of Lily, Carlos just showed me exactly how to hurt him. Carlos stood in the toy aisle of Target, surrounded by stuffed animals and children's books, feeling completely out of his depth. What did 7-year-old girls like? He grabbed a teddy bear. Then a set of art supplies. Picture books with bright covers. A lamp shaped like a moon. His phone buzzed, a text from his driver confirming the grocery delivery to the apartment. Another buzz. His second in command, Miguel, everything okay, boss? You disappeared. Carlos typed back, handle it. I'm busy. He paid in cash, loaded everything into his car, and drove back to the apartment building. When he knocked on Unit 304, Anna answered cautiously, then her eyes widened at the bags he carried. You didn't have to. For Lily's room, Carlos said simply, stepping inside. Lily appeared from the hallway, still wearing her thin dress, but her face was cleaner, her hair brushed. Mr. Carlos. She beamed. He set the bags down and pulled out the teddy bear. Happy birthday, Princessa. Lily clutched it to her chest like it was made of gold, tears gathering in her eyes. Anna covered her mouth, overwhelmed. For the next hour, Carlos helped arrange Lily's room, books on the shelf, the moon lamp on the nightstand, drawings taped to the walls. Anna watched from the doorway, seeing this dangerous man on his hands and knees, adjusting a stuffed bear on a pillow, listening intently as Lily explained which book was her favorite. Why are you really doing this? Anna asked softly when Lily was distracted with her new art supplies. Carlos stood, dusting off his hands. Because I can, he said. And because she deserves it. He met Anna's gaze. So do you. For the first time in months, Anna felt the knot in her chest begin to loosen. Maybe they'd be okay. Maybe this stranger, this terrifying, gentle stranger, really was just trying to help. 3 blocks away, a silver sedan idled at the curb. Inside, a man with a telephoto lens captured everything. Carlos leaving the apartment. Anna standing at the window. Lily's silhouette dancing in her new bedroom. The photos uploaded automatically to Ricardo's secure server. His phone chimed with each new image. Ricardo studied them in his office, the smile never leaving his face. Got it, his lieutenant said, appearing in the doorway. Ana Torres, 29. Evicted 4 months ago. No family in the city? The kid's name is Lily. 7 years old. And the apartment? Owned by Carlos. 3rd floor, unit 304. He had it renovated 6 months ago but never rented it out. Ricardo's eyes gleamed. So he's been planning this. Or waiting for the right moment. Either way, Ricardo said, picking up his phone, he just made the biggest mistake of his life. He typed out a message, carefully choosing each word. Then he sent it to Carlos's private number, the one only his inner circle knew. Carlos was halfway home when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. Then he opened it. The message was simple. Just 4 words. But they turned his blood to ice. Nice little girl. Below it, a photo. Lily. In her new bedroom. Taken through the window. Tonight. Carlos's hands tightened on the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. His mind raced, calculating, strategizing, already 10 steps ahead. Ricardo. It had to be. He'd been careless, emotional, stupid. And now Ana and Lily were targets. Carlos pulled over, forcing himself to breathe. Then he made a call. Miguel. I need security on the building. Now. Discreet. No one gets within 50 feet of Unit 304. Boss, what's going on? Ricardo knows, Carlos said quietly. A pause. What do you want me to do? Carlos stared at the photo on his phone. At Lily's innocent silhouette. At the threat that hung over her like a blade. Everything, he said coldly. I want you to do everything. He ended the call. Then he sat in the darkness, fists clenched, jaw tight. He tried to do something good. He tried to save them. But the world he lived in didn't allow for goodness. It punished it. And now, because of him, an innocent woman and her daughter were in danger. Carlos closed his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered to the empty car. Then he started the engine. And drove toward a war he'd hoped to avoid. The knock came at noon. Ana opened the door to find Carlos standing there with balloons, pink and white, bobbing cheerfully, and a bag that smelled like pizza. You said it was her birthday, Carlos said simply. Lily appeared behind her mother, eyes going wide. Balloons. And pizza, Carlos added. And ice cream. Can't have a birthday without ice cream. Ana's throat tightened. When was the last time someone had remembered? Had cared? You didn't have to do this, she whispered. I know. But he'd done it anyway. They set up in the small dining room, paper plates, plastic forks, the pink cake from the bakery taking center stage with 7 candles arranged in a circle. Lily couldn't stop smiling. She ate 2 slices of pizza, talking excitedly about the books Carlos had brought, about the moon lamp that glowed in her room, about how she'd never had her own bed before. Ana watched Carlos carefully. He sat at the head of the table, this man who commanded fear across the city, patiently listening to a 7-year-old explain her favorite cartoon. No impatience. No coldness. Just presence. Okay, time for the cake, Carlos announced. He lit the candles while Ana dimmed the lights. The soft glow illuminated Lily's face as she stared at the flickering flames, wonder and disbelief mixing in her expression. Make a wish, princessa, Carlos said gently. Lily closed her eyes tight. Then she blew, hard, extinguishing every candle in one breath. They cheered. Lily laughed, the sound pure and unguarded. And for one brief, perfect moment, the world outside didn't exist. What did you wish for? Ana asked, cutting the cake. Can't tell, Lily said seriously. Or it won't come true. But she looked at her mother, then at Carlos and smiled. Ana's eyes met Carlos's across the table. Thank you, she mouthed. He nodded once. And in that moment, Ana saw past the tattoos, past the reputation, past the danger everyone whispered about. If you're still watching, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps more than you know, And trust me, the story is just getting started. She saw a man trying to rewrite his own story, trying to give someone else the childhood he never had. Outside, 3 blocks away, a black van sat parked near the playground. Inside, Ricardo's men watched through tinted windows. "Third floor, unit 304, one muttered into his radio. "Targets inside. Guards at front and back entrances." "How many guards?" Ricardo's voice crackled back. "4 visible. Probably more we can't see. Test them. See how alert they are." One of the men climbed out, strolling casually toward the building's side entrance. The guard there straightened, hand moving subtly toward his waistband. "Help you?" the guard asked, voice flat. "Wrong building," the man said quickly, backing away. The guard watched him go, then spoke quietly into his earpiece. Inside the van, Ricardo's men exchanged looks. "They're ready," one said. "Good," Ricardo responded. "That means they're expecting something. Let them sweat." Carlos's phone buzzed during dessert. He glanced at it, Miguel's name flashing, and excused himself, stepping into the hallway. "Talk to me." "Someone probed the east entrance 10 minutes ago," Miguel said. Guard turned him away. "Could be nothing. Or it's Ricardo testing our response time." "That's what I'm thinking." Carlos looked back through the apartment door at Anna and Lily, at the normalcy they'd built in just 2 days. "Double the rotation," he ordered. "No one on shift longer than 4 hours. Fresh eyes every rotation. And I want someone watching the street cameras 24/7. "Boss, how long can we keep this up?" Carlos's jaw tightened. "As long as it takes." He ended the call and returned to the apartment, forcing a smile. Anna studied his face. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Carlos lied. "Just business." But Anna wasn't stupid. She'd seen the tension that hadn't been there before. The way his eyes drifted to the windows. The phone calls he kept taking in the hallway. "Carlos," she said carefully, "if there's something we should know." "There isn't," he interrupted gently. "You're safe here. I promise." It wasn't entirely a lie. They were safe. For now. As long as his men stayed alert. As long as Ricardo stayed cautious. As long as nothing went wrong. Midnight. Carlos sat in his car outside the apartment building, watching. He hadn't gone home. Couldn't. Not while they were here. Not while Ricardo was circling. Miguel called at 12:47 a.m. All quiet. Shifts changed smoothly. No movement. Good. Keep me updated. Carlos leaned back, eyes scanning the street. Nothing unusual. A few parked cars. Empty sidewalks. Streetlights casting orange pools on wet pavement. But something felt off. That instinct, the one that had kept him alive through a dozen wars, whispered warnings he couldn't quite name. At 1:15 a.m., his radio crackled. South entrance, checking in. All clear. East entrance, all clear. North entrance. Silence. Carlos sat up. North entrance, report. North entrance, come in. Nothing. His blood ran cold. "Miguel, get to the north entrance. Now." He was already out of the car, moving fast across the street, hand on his weapon. The north entrance guard lay slumped against the wall, unconscious but breathing. A syringe lay beside him. "Damn it," Carlos breathed. Miguel arrived seconds later, weapon drawn. "How many floors can they have reached?" Carlos demanded. "If they moved fast? Maybe second floor. Maybe third." Unit 304 was on the 3rd floor. Carlos was already running, taking stairs 3 at a time, Miguel behind him. His radio erupted with voices, other guards responding, converging. But Carlos's mind was focused on one thing. Lily's laugh. Anna's trust. The promise he'd made. "You're safe here?" He hit the 3rd floor, breathing hard. The hallway stretched empty before him. Unit 304's door stood closed. Undisturbed. But the silence felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Carlos approached slowly, listening. Then he heard it. A soft sound from inside. A shuffle. A whisper. Someone was in there. Someone who wasn't supposed to be. Carlos's hand tightened on his weapon, and the night that had felt so perfect just hours ago shattered into 1,000 dangerous pieces. The lights died. Everything, Every lamp, every glow from the kitchen, the soft nightlight in Lily's room, blinked out in an instant. Darkness swallowed the hallway. Carlos froze, every instinct screaming. Then the emergency lights kicked in, dim red bulbs casting the corridor in hellish crimson. His phone rang. Miguel! They cut the main power, Miguel said, breathless. And Carlos, we've lost the east entrance. How many? At least 6. Maybe more. They're in the stairwell. Second floor, heading up. Carlos's heart hammered. He moved fast, silent, reaching unit 304. He tried the handle first, locked, thank God, then pounded twice. Anna! Open the door. Now. A beat of terrified silence. Then the lock turned. Anna stood there in pajamas, Lily clutching her hand, eyes wide with fear. What's happening? Anna whispered. Get inside. Carlos pushed them back, locked the door behind him, engaged the deadbolt and shoved a chair under the handle. Not enough. Never enough. But it would buy them seconds. Mommy? Lily's voice trembled. Anna scooped her up, backing toward the bedrooms. Carlos pulled his weapon, checked the magazine, chambered a round, then turned to Anna. Listen to me very carefully, he said, voice low and steady. Take Lily into her bedroom. Lock the door. Push the dresser in front of it. Hide her under the bed and don't come out until I tell you. Carlos, what? Anna. His eyes locked on hers. They're here for me. But they'll hurt you to get to me. Do you understand? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Carlos reached behind his back and pulled out a second pistol, smaller, lighter. He pressed it into her shaking hands. Safety's off. Point and pull the trigger. That's all. Don't hesitate. Anna stared at the weapon like it might bite her. I can't, I've never. If someone comes through that door who isn't me, you shoot them. His voice turned hard. You protect her. Whatever it takes. Anna's fingers closed around the grip. She looked at Lily, at her daughter's terrified face, and something shifted behind her eyes. Fear crystallized into resolve. Okay, she breathed. Go. Now. Anna ran, Lily in her arms, disappearing into the bedroom. The lock clicked. Carlos heard furniture scraping across the floor. Then silence. He positioned himself behind the kitchen counter, clear sight line to the door, cover if they came in shooting. The building groaned around him. Somewhere below, glass shattered. Shouts echoed through the stairwell, angry, coordinated. Then footsteps. Heavy boots on tile. Multiple sets. Getting closer. Carlos's radio crackled, Miguel's voice barely a whisper. Boss, they're on 3. I'm pinned down on 2. I can't. Static swallowed the rest. The footsteps stopped. Right outside the door. Carlos could hear them breathing. He heard the metallic click of weapons being readied. A voice, low, accented, gave orders in rapid Spanish. That one. 304, he's inside with them. How many? 3. The woman, the kid, and Hernandez. Ricardo wants them alive. He wants Hernandez alive. The others are negotiable. Carlos's blood turned to ice. A whispered laugh. Negotiable means fun. Shut up. Breach on 3. Carlos tightened his grip on his weapon. Controlled his breathing. In. Out. In. Out. He'd been in firefights before. Had killed men in rooms smaller than this. But never with innocence hiding 10 feet away. Never with a child under the bed, clutching a teddy bear he'd bought her. The voice counted down. Trace. Something heavy pressed against the door. Dos. The frame groaned. Uno. Carlos. The door exploded inward. Not kicked, blown. A small charge on the lock, expertly placed. The deadbolt shattered. The chair flew backward. Smoke billowed in. 3 men rushed through the doorway, black tactical gear, faces covered, weapons raised. Carlos fired. The first man dropped instantly, blood spraying across the white wall. The second dove behind the couch. The third returned fire, bullets tearing through the kitchen cabinets, sending wood splinters flying. Carlos ducked, shifted position, and fired twice more. The second man screamed, clutching his leg. But more footsteps thundered in the hallway. Reinforcements. He's got firepower. Fall back. They retreated into the corridor, dragging their wounded. But they didn't leave. Carlos could hear them regrouping, hear radios crackling, hear someone barking orders. Then a new voice, smooth, familiar, amplified through a megaphone from somewhere below. Ricardo! Carlos! You've made this very difficult. Carlos said nothing. All I want is a conversation. Face to face. Civilized. Still nothing. Send out the woman and the girl. They're not part of this. Let's keep them safe. Carlos's jaw clenched. Like hell. You have 60 seconds to decide, Ricardo continued. After that we come in shooting. And I can't promise what happens to them. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. From the bedroom, Carlos heard nothing. Anna was smart, keeping Lily quiet, keeping her safe. But for how long? Carlos's mind raced through possibilities. Fight, and risk Lily getting caught in crossfire. Surrender, and trust Ricardo's word, which was worth less than dirt. Or, his eyes flicked to the window. Third floor. Fire escape on the far side of the building. If he could get them out. His radio crackled weakly. Boss. Miguel's voice, faint. North stairwell, clear. I'm coming. Hope flickered. If Miguel could reach them. If they could hold long enough. 30 seconds, Carlos. The men in the hallway shuffled closer. Carlos heard more metallic sounds. Clips being loaded. Grenades being armed. They weren't bluffing. 15 seconds. Carlos looked toward the bedroom door. Toward Anna and Lily, hiding in the darkness. Toward the only good thing he'd tried to do in a decade. Time's up. The hallway erupted. Gunfire shredded the doorframe. Bullets punched through drywall like paper. The couch exploded in clouds of stuffing. Carlos returned fire, controlled bursts, making every shot count. One attacker fell. Another stumbled back, wounded. But more kept coming. A grenade bounced into the room. Carlos's heart stopped. He had 2 seconds, maybe less. He dove toward the bedroom, slamming his shoulder against the door. Get down. The world turned white. The explosion tore through the living room, shredding furniture, shattering windows, filling the air with smoke and debris. Carlos's ears rang. His vision blurred. But he was alive. And from behind the bedroom door, he heard Lily crying. Still alive. Still safe. He forced himself up, weapon raised, ready for the next wave. Because this wasn't over. It was only beginning. The smoke cleared just enough to see shadows moving through the shattered doorway. 4 men. Maybe 5. Carlos fired twice, center mass, the way he'd been trained since he was 16. One dropped. The others scattered, using the destroyed furniture as cover. A bullet whipped past Carlos's head, so close he felt the heat. He rolled behind the overturned dining table, reloaded, his hands moving on autopilot even as blood ran down his left arm from shrapnel. He couldn't feel the pain yet. Adrenaline wouldn't let him. Living room secure, someone shouted from the hallway. Bedroom next. Carlos's heart lurched. He rose, firing blind suppression shots toward the door, then sprinted across the apartment. A mercenary stepped into his path, tall, masked, rifle raised. Carlos didn't hesitate. Close quarters. No room for error. He grabbed the rifle barrel, shoved it aside, drove his knife upward beneath the man's ribs. The mercenary gasped, collapsed. Carlos kept moving. He reached the bedroom just as a gloved hand turned the knob. Inside, Anna pressed her back against the dresser she'd shoved in front of the door, the pistol trembling in both hands. Lily was under the bed, just like Carlos said, curled around her teddy bear, silent tears streaming down her face. "Mommy," she whimpered. "Shoo, baby. Stay quiet. Stay hidden." The doorknob rattled. Once. Twice. Then a shoulder slammed against it. The dresser shifted. Another hit. Wood splintered. Anna aimed the gun at the door, her entire body shaking. "Point and pull the trigger. That's all." The door burst open. 6 inches, then a foot. A man's arm reached through, feeling for the lock. Anna squeezed her eyes shut and fired. The sound was deafening in the small room. The recoil nearly knocked the gun from her hands. The man screamed, jerking his arm back. "She's armed. The woman shot me." Anna stared at the gun, at her own hands, at what she'd just done. Then she aimed at the door again. Because if he came through, she'd shoot him again. And again. Whatever it took. Carlos heard the gunshot from Lily's room and his blood went cold. Then he heard Anna's voice, strong despite the fear. "Stay back. I'll shoot again." Pride flickered through the chaos. She was fighting. Another mercenary charged from the kitchen, weapon raised. Carlos dropped him with 2 shots. But pain finally broke through, hot, sharp, radiating from his shoulder where a bullet had grazed him. His vision swam. He stumbled against the wall, leaving a smear of blood. "He's hit." Someone yelled from the doorway. 3 more men poured in, sensing weakness. Carlos fired until his magazine clicked empty. Dropped it. Reloaded. Fired again. The apartment had become a war zone. Shattered glass everywhere, bullet holes in every wall, smoke so thick it burned the lungs. One mercenary made it past Carlos, heading for the bedroom. Carlos tackled him from behind, slamming him into the floor. They grappled, brutal, desperate. The mercenary was younger and stronger. But Carlos fought like a man with nothing to lose. He drove his elbow into the man's throat, once, twice, until he stopped moving. The smoke was getting worse. Black clouds billowed from something burning in the kitchen. Anna could barely see. Barely breathe. "Lily, we have to move." She pulled her daughter from under the bed, grabbed a blanket, soaked it in the water bottle by the nightstand, and wrapped it around Lily's face. "Hold this tight. Don't let go." She kicked open the closet door, small, cramped, but away from the smoke. They squeezed inside, pulling the door shut behind them. Through the crack, Anna watched shadows dancing through the gray haze. Heard shouting. Gunfire. Carlos's voice, hoarse. "Fall back. Fall back now or I drop every last one of you." More shots. A scream. Heavy footsteps retreating. 14 minutes after the breach began, the shooting stopped. Carlos stood in the center of the ruined living room, weapon raised, breathing hard, blood dripping from multiple wounds. 5 bodies lay scattered across the apartment. The rest had retreated, dragging their wounded, leaving a trail of blood down the hallway. His radio crackled. "Boss, they're pulling back. All entrances. They're leaving." Carlos didn't lower his weapon. This didn't make sense. Ricardo didn't retreat. Not when he had the numbers. Unless... Miguel, where's Ricardo? Miguel? We don't know. He was in the command vehicle. But when we moved on it... Miguel's voice broke. It was empty. He's gone. Carlos's stomach dropped. Ricardo wasn't here. He'd never been here. This wasn't an attack. It was a distraction. "Anna." Carlos moved toward the bedroom, stumbling. The closet door opened. Anna emerged, Lily in her arms, both covered in dust and soot but alive. Unhurt. Lily buried her face in her mother's shoulder, sobbing. Anna's eyes met Carlos's across the smoke-filled room. "Is it over?" She whispered. Carlos wanted to say yes. wanted to tell her they were safe. But his instincts screamed otherwise. For now, he said. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Ricardo's voice, smooth as silk. Very impressive, Carlos. Truly. But you misunderstand the situation. Where are you? Somewhere you're not. Somewhere you should have been watching. Ice flooded Carlos's veins. What did you do? I made you choose, and you chose them, which tells me everything I need to know. In the background, Carlos heard something. A church bell. A specific rhythm he recognized. St. Michael's Cathedral. 3 blocks from his warehouse, where his entire operation ran. No, Carlos breathed. Yes, Ricardo purred. While you were playing hero, I took everything else. Your warehouses. Your accounts. Your men. Carlos's hand tightened on the phone. You wanted to save the girl? Ricardo continued. Congratulations. You did. But it cost you your empire. The line went dead. Carlos stood frozen, the weight of his choice crashing down. He'd saved Anna and Lily, but he'd lost everything else. Anna approached slowly, reading his face. What happened? Carlos looked at her. At Lily, still crying in her arms. At the innocent lives he'd pulled into his world. We need to leave. He said quietly. Right now. Because Ricardo was right about one thing. This wasn't over. It had only just began. Carlos heard it before he saw it. A car engine idling in the parking structure below. One vehicle. Running. Waiting. While everyone else fled. His blood went cold. Miguel, he barked into his radio. Check the parking structure. Now. On it, boss, there's a black SUV, engine running, driver's side door open. Ricardo, Carlos breathed. He wasn't gone. He was waiting. Not for Carlos. For Lily. The distraction. The chaos. The gunfight that forced Carlos to choose between his empire and 2 innocent lives. All of it designed to create one perfect moment when security was fractured, when everyone was scattered, when a 7-year-old girl could simply disappear. Carlos moved toward the stairwell, each step sending pain radiating through his injured shoulder. Stay here, he told Anna. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me or Miguel. Where are you going? To end this. Anna watched him disappear into the smoke-filled hallway, blood trailing behind him. She looked down at Lily, trembling in her arms, at the pistol still gripped in her own shaking hand. She'd already fired once tonight, already crossed a line she never thought she could. Stay here, baby, Anna whispered, setting Lily down in the closet. Don't come out. No matter what you hear. Mommy, no. I'll be right back. I promise. Anna kissed her daughter's forehead. Then she followed Carlos into the darkness. The parking structure was a concrete tomb. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting stuttering shadows across oil-stained pavement. The black SUV sat in the center, engine purring, headlights cutting through the gloom. And leaning against it, arms crossed, perfectly calm, stood Ricardo Mendez. He smiled when he saw Carlos emerge from the stairwell. There you are. I was beginning to think you'd stay upstairs. Play it safe. Carlos raised his weapon, arms steady despite the blood loss. It's over, Ricardo. Is it? Ricardo gestured around them. Your men are scattered, your warehouses are burning, your empire is ash, and you're bleeding out in a parking garage. He pushed off the SUV, stepping into the light. But you saved the girl. So I suppose that's something. Walk away, Carlos said quietly. Right now. And I'll let you live. Ricardo laughed, a genuine, delighted sound. You'll let me live? Carlos, you're half dead already. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes. Ricardo's smile faded. You know what your problem is? You got soft. Started caring about things that don't matter. A homeless woman. A starving child. He circled slowly, predator assessing prey. I've been waiting 3 years for you to slip. To show weakness. And then you hand it to me on a silver platter, kneeling in a bakery, buying birthday cakes, playing house. Carlos tracked him with the gun barrel. That was the mistake I needed, Ricardo continued. The moment you proved you weren't invincible. That you could be hurt. Manipulated. Destroyed. You're wrong. Am I? Ricardo stopped. You lost everything tonight because you chose sentiment over strength. Love over power. No, Carlos said. I chose what matters. Ricardo's hand moved toward his waistband. Carlos fired. The bullet caught Ricardo in the shoulder, spinning him backward. But Ricardo was already moving, weapon drawn, returning fire. Carlos dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets sparked off stone. His wounded shoulder screamed. His vision blurred. But he kept moving. Ricardo emptied his magazine, cursing, reloading. Carlos counted the shots, timed the pause, stepped out and fired 3 times. Ricardo staggered, clutching his side, but didn't fall. Tough bastard, he snarled, raising his weapon again. Then a car door slammed open. Both men turned. Anna stood 30 feet away, pistol raised in both hands, aimed directly at Ricardo. Get away from him, she said, voice shaking but determined. Ricardo laughed, wet and pained. The mother lion. How touching. He swung his weapon toward her. Carlos moved without thinking. Threw himself between them. Ricardo's shot went wide, hitting the ceiling. Carlos closed the distance in 3 strides, grabbing Ricardo's wrist, slamming it against the SUV until the gun clattered away. They grappled, brutal, exhausted, 2 men with nothing left but rage. Ricardo drove his fist into Carlos's wounded shoulder. Carlos's vision exploded white. But he didn't let go. He drove his knee into Ricardo's ribs. Once. Twice. Felt something crack? Ricardo gasped. It was weakening. Carlos shoved him against the SUV, forearm pressed against his throat. You wanted to hurt them, Carlos said, voice raw. An innocent woman. A child. Ricardo's eyes bulged, face reddening. You chose wrong. No, Carlos said. I finally chose right. He pressed harder. Ricardo's struggles weakened. Slowed. Stopped. Carlos held him there long after the light left his eyes. Long after the body went limp. Until Anna's hand touched his shoulder. Carlos. He's gone. Carlos released him. Ricardo crumpled to the ground. Carlos stood over him, swaying, barely able to stand. The parking structure was silent except for their ragged breathing. Then, distant but growing closer, sirens. Police. Ambulances. Fire trucks. Someone had finally called the cavalry. We need to go, Anna said urgently. No. Carlos shook his head. You need to go. Take Lily. Miguel will get you somewhere safe. New identities. Money. Whatever you need. What about you? I stay. Answer questions. Take responsibility for this mess. Carlos. Anna. He turned to face her, blood-soaked and battered but somehow at peace. I bought you time. Freedom. A chance to disappear and give Lily a real life. Tears streamed down Anna's face. But you saved us. You lost everything for us. Carlos smiled, tired but genuine. I didn't lose everything. I found what I should have been protecting all along. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights began to flash against the concrete walls. Go, Carlos said. Please. Anna hesitated. Then she stepped forward and kissed his cheek. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. She ran toward the stairwell, toward Lily, toward the future Carlos had bought with his empire. Carlos watched her go. Then he sat down heavily against the SUV, weapon on the ground beside him, hands raised as the police poured in. Ricardo's body lay 5 feet away. The threat was over. The war was won. And for the first time in his life, Carlos felt like he'd done something that actually mattered. The officers surrounded him, shouting orders and weapons drawn. But Carlos just closed his eyes and waited. Because he was finally, and truly free. Dawn broke over the city in shades of gold and amber. The apartment building stood scarred but standing, windows boarded up, police tape fluttering in the morning breeze, emergency vehicles still parked along the street. Carlos sat on the back of an ambulance while a paramedic stitched his shoulder, each pull of the thread a reminder that he was still here. Still alive. He'd told the police everything they needed to hear: self-defense, protecting civilians, Ricardo's attack. Miguel had handled the rest, making calls, securing lawyers, ensuring the story held together. By sunrise, the detectives were satisfied. For now. You're lucky, the paramedic said, tying off the last stitch. 1/4 inch to the left and this would have hit an artery. Carlos didn't feel lucky. He felt exhausted. But when he looked across the parking lot and saw Anna emerging from the building with Lily's hand in hers, both wrapped in emergency blankets, maybe lucky was the right word after all. Anna spotted him and hurried over, Lily stumbling sleepily beside her. "You're still here," Anna said, relief flooding her voice. "Where else would I be? I thought," she glanced at the police cars, "I thought they'd arrest you." "They considered it." Carlos winced as he stood. But apparently saving civilians from a known criminal carries some weight. The paramedic handed him a bottle of painkillers. "Take 2 every 6 hours. And for God's sake, rest." Carlos nodded, but they both knew he wouldn't. Anna studied his face, the bruises forming, the cuts that would scar, the exhaustion carved into every line. "Come on," she said softly. "Let's get you inside." Unit 304 was a disaster, but Miguel's crew had already been through, clearing debris, boarding the broken windows, making it livable enough for one more night. Tomorrow they'd move somewhere safer. Somewhere Ricardo's remaining associates would never find them. But tonight they needed rest. Anna guided Carlos to the couch, the one piece of furniture still intact, and grabbed the first aid kit from under the kitchen sink. "I can do it myself," Carlos protested weakly. "Shut up and sit still." She cleaned the cuts on his face with careful hands, applying antiseptic that made him hiss through his teeth. "Sorry," she murmured. "Don't be. I've had worse." "That doesn't make it better." She worked in silence for a moment, then paused, gauze in hand. "When I first saw you in that bakery," she said quietly, "I was terrified. Everyone knows who you are. What you do." Carlos looked down. "I know what you thought. You were a monster. A criminal. Someone to avoid at all costs. I am those things." "No." Anna lifted his chin gently, forcing him to meet her eyes. "You were, but that man in the bakery, the one who knelt beside my daughter, who gave us a home, who lost everything to keep us safe." Her voice cracked. "That man is a protector. A hero." "Heroes don't have blood on their hands." "Maybe not," Anna said. "But heroes show up when it matters. And you did." Carlos felt something break inside him. A wall he'd built brick by brick over decades. "I haven't felt this alive in years," he admitted. "Or this hopeful. I forgot what it was like to protect something that actually mattered." Anna's thumb brushed across a cut on his cheekbone. "You matter too, you know. Not just what you can do for us. You." The words hit harder than any bullet. For so long, Carlos had measured his worth in power, in fear, in control. But sitting here, battered and broke, with a woman who'd once been terrified of him now tending his wounds with infinite gentleness. Maybe he'd been measuring wrong all along. Lily emerged from her bedroom in borrowed pajamas 3 sizes too big, dragging her teddy bear behind her. "Mommy?" Is Carlos okay? I'm fine, Princessa, Carlos said, offering a small smile. Lily climbed onto the couch beside him, studying his bandages with wide eyes. You got hurt protecting us. That's what you do for people you care about. Like family? Carlos's throat tightened. He looked at Anna, who nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Yeah, Carlos said. Like family. Lily yawned, snuggling against his uninjured side. I like having family again. Anna joined them on the couch, and for a long moment, they sat in silence, three people who'd been broken by the world, now holding each other together. No one will ever hurt you again, Carlos said quietly, looking at both of them. I promise. Whatever it takes, wherever we have to go, you're safe. Both of you. Anna rested her head on his shoulder. We know. Lily's breathing slowed, deepening into sleep. But before she drifted off completely, she mumbled against Carlos's chest. Carlos? Yeah, Princessa? Thank you for my birthday. Carlos closed his eyes, emotion overwhelming him. A week ago, he'd been a kingpin. Powerful. Feared. Untouchable. Now. He was broke, wounded, wanted by half the criminal underworld. But he had this. A mother who saw past his scars. A child who trusted him completely. A family built not from blood, but from choice. From danger and compassion. And second chances. Anna's hand found his fingers intertwining. What happens now? She whispered. Carlos looked around the ruined apartment. At the boarded windows, the bullet holes, the evidence of a battle fought and won. Now. He squeezed her hand. We disappear. New city, new names, new life. And then? Carlos looked down at Lily, peaceful in sleep, finally safe. Then we give her everything she deserves. A real home. A real childhood. A chance to just be a kid. And us? Anna asked. Carlos met her gaze, saw the question there, the hope, the possibility. We figure it out, he said. One day at a time. Outside, the sun climbed higher, burning away the darkness. Emergency crews packed up their equipment. Police cars drove away. The building settled into quiet, and in Unit 304, surrounded by the ruins of his old life, Carlos Hernandez held the beginning of his new one. A found family, built from ashes and choices. From a mother's desperate plea and a mafia boss who finally remembered what it meant to be human. The future was uncertain. Dangerous even. But for the first time in decades, Carlos wasn't afraid. Because he'd found something worth protecting, something worth changing for, something worth living for. And nothing, not Ricardo's remaining allies, not the police, not his own dark past, would ever take that away. He'd made his choice. And he'd make it again. Every single time. If this story touched you, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps these stories alive, and I'm truly grateful you stayed with me till the end.